All right.
And we're gonna give it a few more minutes because
Yeah, Dr. Trent.
I don't see anybody.
I thought she was going to be here personally.
I don't know.
Yes, speak.
Good morning.
The work group?
Dr. Trent?
Yes.
Excellent.
Come on in.
Thank you.
Are you moving? Yes, okay. Welcome.
Okay.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
All right, so now, well, good morning, everyone. It is now 10 o'clock, so the first meeting, the African Meeting House Investigation Procurement Work Group is now in session. Just to remind everyone that these meetings are visually and audio recorded. This is our first meeting, so we don't have any minutes to approve at this time. Just to remind you that our essential goal is essentially to find an organization to do an independent review of the investigation of the African Meeting House vandalism that occurred tragically a few years ago. We're not the investigative group. We are to find an investigative group. So what I thought we would do is just start by sort of introducing ourselves. So we get to know each other a little bit better. I mean, I know you all to some degree, but just for myself, Malcolm McNabb. I first came to the island in 1980, became a full-time resident in 2007. I've been on the Board of Health for most of the last 14 years and the select person for the last 2.5 years, and was assigned to chair this group. So I was not born here, I wasn't raised here, but I feel like this is truly my home. I love this island, and I think we're all upset about what happened, and we need to make it better. Mr. Fox, you want to?
Hi, I'm Rocky Fox. I'm born and raised here. I've sat on several boards and committees. I currently sit on the Dreamland Theater Board. I was on the Boys and Girls Club. I was a school committee rep. On the school committee for 3 years. And I too want to see some closure for this. And that's why I put my name in the hat.
Thank you. Mr. Williams.
Yeah, Clifford Williams, born and raised in Nantucket. I worked for the FAA at the airport. I was on the finance committee for about 9 years. I was on the Island Home Committee, fire station committee, several committees. So hopefully we can bring an end to this. It's been 7 years, so I'm happy to be here.
My name is Luke Thornwell. I've been here over 30 years. I call this place home. I'm married. I have raised my son here. I've had an architectural design business here for just about the entirety of that time. I enjoy working with the high school tennis team a lot here, and very much invested in the outcome of this, as much of the town would like to see this resolved. And as I say, I'm an architectural designer, so the fact that this was a landmark structure, a school and a church, which I'm also attend St. Mary's with Jim Barrows and others. This is a very meaningful meeting, I think, we're having today, because all of those subjects I just mentioned are an integral part of what we're considering. And if I may, after everyone's introduced, Malcolm, I'd like to offer up a prayer to start the meeting, since this is church business.
If you wish.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Trent.
Hi, I'm Dr. Noel Trent, President and CEO of the Museum of African American History. June will mark 2 years with the organization. So I first came to Nantucket Juneteenth of 2023. Have been following this incident since it happened back in 2018. And so we are grateful that it has come to this point and look forward to moving forward with this process with everyone today.
Thank you all. And I think maybe we just have a silent moment, not a prayer. We do have church and state issues.
If I may, sir, I mean, it is church business, and that this was an attack on the church as well. And those in this, there are people in this room and in the community watching that I think prayer would be great benefit to. Because I've been on the vestry with you in the past, and whenever there was something that was related to a church, we always had a prayer to start and a prayer to finish. So I don't think it would hurt anything, and it would certainly empower other people outside this room also to participate in the power of prayer, which we know is helpful.
What about my fellow committee members? What do you feel about this?
I'm fine with it.
Not opposed.
I'm not opposed to prayer or a moment of silence,
Fine.
whatever is most appropriate.
Very short. Thank you.
And what was provided to us by Father John to Jim Barrows and I was Psalm 23. And then at the end of the meeting, I'd like to offer up the St. Francis prayer. Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
So, I put on here first to establish a meeting schedule. We may want to look at this again towards the end of the meeting, once we really kind of put out our scope of work. But is this general time acceptable to people? We can video now. I want to make sure the first meeting we all were in the same room together. Is this 10 o'clock Thursday mornings? Is this comfortable?
It's kind of a conflict. I was hoping that we could do it sometime out of business hours,
Okay.
like at 5 or 6 or any time like that.
I have no problem with that.
Afternoons tend to work better for me, so even as early as 4, like 3 to 4, like just a little bit later in the day. We don't have to go
Yeah.
fully out of business hours, but just like mornings are a little bit more difficult for me.
Okay.
I'm free anyway.
I could be open to that. I have a tennis schedule that I could, if someone suggests dates, I can just check to see if it works for me.
We could do 4. Well, Thursday, the Board of Health is 4 on the 3rd Thursday of each month. Like today, so I can't do that. At least for the next 2 months. I'm not sure I'll be on the board after.
It's every Thursday, you said? It's every Thursday?
No, every 3rd Thursday.
Okay.
We can
Well, we
avoid
can
that.
avoid the 3rd Thursday. I think we can kind of come up with,
So let's tentatively do 4 o'clock every Thursday.
Okay.
okay.
And then the 3rd Thursday, we'll take a break.
Okay.
And maybe after June, hopefully we're done by June. After 14 years on the Board of Health, it's time to move on, I think.
There you go.
Wait a minute, sorry, I'm sorry. I have tennis practice up until 5:30. I'm sorry, on Thursdays.
Okay,
Starting.
you're in season now, right?
3:30 to 5:30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking at my game schedule, but we have practice.
So there's other day beside Thursdays?
Well, if it's virtual, I can do 10. If it's in person, it's a little bit more difficult for me.
Yeah. And we could do virtual. So what about Luke? You seem to be the factor that will drive our time here.
Well, I can do, I can do, what days are we saying we're focusing on right now?
Thursdays.
So on Thursdays, I could do, after 5:30, or I could do, before 3:30.
5:30 Thursdays.
And we would go for how long?
Hopefully, we won't go too long. I would like to think that we can come up with a recommendation for an investigator soon.
Mhm.
I mean, this has gone on a long time. So I think it's in the interest of everyone to make this quick. Do it correctly, but do it rapidly.
I just have a couple of Thursday conflicts after 5:30. For me coming up, so just wanted to be transparent.
Is there another day besides Thursday? Nothing fixed about Thursday.
Mondays, I'm totally free on a Monday.
Mondays are much more flexible for me, just in
How
general.
about,
I can do early morning Monday or after 5:30 on Monday. Well, actually, yeah, after 5:30 on Monday. But up till 3:30 on Monday or after 5:30 on Monday.
what's 5:30 on Mondays? Do we have a room?
Every other Monday at 5 o'clock, MPEDC has this room. The adjacent room B is available at 5:30 on Mondays
And there's video
capability.
capabilities there?
Yes,
So let's do room B. 5:30 on Mondays. For now, anyway.
and how many weeks would you like to schedule that? This coming Monday is Patriots Day,
Mhm.
No, that's not good.
so that would,
It's okay for me.
uh, facilities are not open on Monday.
Okay.
The 28th, or you could schedule it on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of next week.
How about Tuesdays?
What day is it?
Today, 17th, is it?
Today's Tuesday,
Thursday.
Thursday. I'm
Thursday.
just thinking, the meeting has to be posted 48 hours in advance, and that wouldn't allow us enough time.
So we push it into May.
Or Wednesday or Thursday of next week.
Well, Wednesday is usually select boards, but Wednesday next week, there is no select board.
It's school break.
It's school break.
Well, the building's open.
This would be,
Okay,
the high school would not.
So
Or
if
limited.
we did 5:30 next Wednesday, and then after that, 5:30 is on Mondays.
Okay.
How's that?
that sounds good to me.
23rd. I think I should be able to make most of those. Are those in person or are we doing virtual?
They'll all be virtual.
Okay. It'll be a little bit easier with my travel schedule
Yeah.
to do that. But I'll email you any conflict.
Yes. And hopefully, it'd be nice that everybody made every meeting, but let's be practical. Sometimes that's just not gonna happen.
Mhm.
And I don't think we'll get this through. Okay, so
Excuse me, so you said by Zoom, does that mean you don't want an in-person?
I do a hybrid,
Oh, okay,
definitely hybrid.
all right,
I know some of these I will Zoom, but
okay.
and I hate to manage a meeting Zoom, but I should be okay. All right, now. The two real items that we have to come up with. Is we have to have, sort of, the scope of work. And the qualifications that we believe the independent organization, should demonstrate to us. In no particular order, I mean. I put down qualifications of the independent organization. I mean, that's kind of a very broad concept. I mean, obviously, independent is one. Any particular concerns, any particular characteristics that we would not want, or that we definitely would want?
Okay, I was gonna make a motion, through you, Mr. Chairman, to look at the original draft of the town meeting vote. If you'd like to.
You actually have that.
Yeah, well, this is the one that Gail Holgate originally put through.
This is the one that was passed.
Yeah, that lies the problem, that I think she sat there at the Board of Selectmen's meeting and kind of said that wasn't the article that she wrote, so. I thought we could look at that and determine. That's very independent. It's an organization of highly qualified people that originally had selected or narrowed down a few people, so I didn't know if we could still work through them. That would be my motion to do
Well,
that.
that would be a group that could certainly apply for it.
Well, that was the group that was gonna oversee the selection of the person, which would eliminate all of us, because I saw where there were people that were contacted versus, I'm not sure what that really means, contacted, so. Again, that group is from off island, and it just eliminates the whole, town government, the police department, it just kind of eliminates everybody.
Well, in my view, what, this meeting or this group. We were sort of sanctioned to do, to find an independent person or group to investigate the investigation.
Which that kind of addresses that.
However, this group certainly is a group, and they could be, considered. But we shouldn't just jump to one particular group without considering others.
No, what I meant is the body of individuals that was selected to look for an investigator, and so they're pretty broad in their scope.
That's actually not what we're here for. Because the select board has charged us with that job. And the actual warrant that was approved basically said that. And not this. So this is not approved. This is not what was approved by the town or approved by the select board.
Then it comes into question, why was that altered? I guess that was Gail's question at the Board of Selectmen's meeting also.
It was altered at the town meeting, if I recall. Because the original warrant was recommended to take no action. And it was put into a positive motion. That's just the bureaucracy of town meetings.
Right, even the motion was changed. It doesn't mean that that's not the original article. I don't think the article was.
But the original article was not passed in its original format. The article was changed. The select board was chosen, and the select board has selected our group to select the individual. That's our task. Based on the history of the select board, the positive motion, or the town meeting, the select board, and then the present wishes and direction of the present select board.
Okay,
So
I know Gail just wanted to make that clear that then the document that was originally intended has been altered, so we can move forward and
let's move forward.
Revisit that. But,
it wasn't altered for any nefarious reasons. It was altered at the town meeting to put into a positive motion, because the original recommendation was to take no action, and then it was here is the actual record. So let us move forward. Okay, so independence. We can say we want an independent group, organization, or person. It's kind of a tough sometimes to define.
I mean, just going back to this for 1 second. Weren't these people originally like called out because they were of the highest expertise?
Well, I think we should move on. When we come to discussion of a group, that's a group that could be
I'm just sort
considered.
of moving towards what you asked there in terms of, didn't you just ask like how we move to find these people?
Well, we set up a criteria for who we want. We write a scope of work, and then we put out an RFP. And we will have the finance director come in and talk to us about how one does an RFP. So we have to do it correctly, legally, the way a government organization would do it.
So, if I'm understanding your question correctly, you're looking for clarification of how we would define independent. And so,
Yes,
this means that are we looking for independent to be an individual that has no ties to the Nantucket community in any way, shape, or form? They may have done business here, but they don't. Are we saying that independent means non-resident of Nantucket? Are we saying independent means a company that has not done any business on Nantucket? Are we saying independent means no ties to the police department or any parties that would be part of this investigative process? Is that the questions that we're trying to see what we want to do
I
to
guess
establish
that's-
independent?
you express it better than I did.
Okay. I'm just trying to make it, just asking questions. So the discussion then is, as we define independent, what are the metrics that we would consider someone being truly independent in this investigation? And so I think the more reasonable thing for this would be someone who does not have ties to any of the individuals or parties that would be investigated. So for instance, they could not have, if you're an investigative agency that has done work with the police department previously, perhaps we don't have you do this part of it. It's nothing against you, but for true transparency and for the level of clarity and optics for everyone in the community, you would not be considered an ideal candidate to do that, to do this particular work investigation.
Do we know if any of these, because there were 3 submissions, but one of the links is dead to the one of the people who submitted, so they're out, right? So that just leaves 2 other.
Well, we can find somebody else.
Okay, well, then my next question is what's the date on people being able to submit their company to be asked to do this investigation? Is there a cutoff date?
Well, we will make that, we'll make that decision. And yes, there were other companies that had applied before. There was a scope of work written. That's just draft. That's not our scope of work. That's something we can look at. But I think what I'm hearing, and no one's objecting, is that this organization, person, or professional would have absolutely 0 ties to anybody involved potentially involved in the whole process of the original investigation. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
May I add?
Please.
Rocky, to your point, as far as, excuse me, how long somebody has to respond during the procurement process, Brian will talk to us, Brian Turbot, the Director of Finance. He'll explain to us how the process is carried out. And there is like a website that it would be on, and different companies would be notified, or they would actually be checking to see if anything comes up that would pertain to their expertise. And there is always a time limit, whether it be 30, 60, 90 days of that bid being open. And those bids would come in and then they'd be presented here. But Brian will be coming in to talk the whole process out to you.
So as we
And one
speak,
has
the
to-
bids are open still.
Pardon me,
So as we speak, are the bids still open?
the bid hasn't even been
Put out yet?
put out yet.
Okay.
You have to determine
All right.
all the criteria that they have to follow.
Mhm.
And then the finance department will
Okay.
write up a proper procurement offer. And then, like I said, Brian will come in the next meeting or two and give you all the details of what that scope needs to include, timeframe,
Mhm.
probably more information than you'll want to know, but it'll be thorough.
Right, so once we have that and then it's put out, say it's 30 days or whatever. I mean, those are probably a couple times we won't meet till that, they all come back.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
We'll sit at this table and we'll decide on which one we would recommend to the select board to go forward with.
Do we create a template to find? Like, are these two companies that are here on this draft review? Do we know if they have any ties at all? Can they automatically be crossed off the list?
They may be automatically crossed off the list.
How do we decide that? Do you just take them at their word or what?
We'll have to take a lot of things at their word.
Okay,
It'd be a question in the proposal, do you have any ties to Nantucket? And it may be, if we can't find anybody that we like, there may be some, they visited Nantucket when they were a child or
Yeah,
something.
Well, I think that's part of in the process, we could say just a conflict of interest. You know what I mean? Has your organization done any business with these following entities? And we list the entities that would be involved, that we are really interested in analyzing. So Nantucket Police Department, Town of Nantucket, this. Are there any other potential conflicts of interest? And then like any other government entity, you just kind of say, you put that little thing that always scares everybody about, failure to disclose would result in
that.
immediately termination, blah, 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 right? So let's do that, and that gets rid of all of that, so that's on the individual to clarify, and that's part of the application process. And then that would be for us to debate, and if it's yes, when was the last time you did it? So if the last time they worked with Nantucket Police Department was in the 1990s, well, clearly that's enough space between now and then to perhaps be involved in this process. And so I think we can offer some clarifying questions on this application process to ensure that we get the level of high degree of independence and reliability and credibility in this process.
so it won't be like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Exactly.
So, okay, so we're looking for independence, obviously professionalism.
I guess my question is, when we're talking about an organization to do an investigation, what are the sort of certification? I'm thinking in terms of hiring practices. Are there particular certifications, levels of experience, number of previous investigations, like what are we looking for? Like we don't, for this process, for us to really get the results that we want someone to have a demonstrable level of experience conducting investigations at this level. This should not be your first investigation
No.
at this. We don't want that person, right? Or that company. So I don't know if in the previous scope of work, there was a clarification around, how do you demonstrate, your level of expertise in this field? I think that's what we need to figure out what that qualification looks like.
And we can also ask for references, correct?
Yeah.
We'd definitely ask for references. The organization would have to listen, we'd probably interview. Ask them, have you done this before? What, how often have you done it? And we would ask for references.
Yeah. Okay.
And there'd be like any other business in the respect that, we'd have to somehow discern who's the flashier marketer, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
This is part of it, and we have to be aware of that. because,
Yeah, I know.
and that'll be one of our tasks to kind of,
I think most of us in our lives are, I use the word mature enough that we have dealt with
I don't know, I'll
hiring.
tell you what, I was just part of with the land bank recently, working on, a facility and, it can be tricky. They're good at what they do. They want the business.
Yes, exactly.
That's why I kind of reverted back to that group. Charlie Perry, a retired investigator for the New Bedford Police Department. That's the expertise that, and I'm in aviation, I wouldn't know the first question to ask an investigator, whether he's qualified or not, and that's why having a board like that was pretty diversified, maybe we could consult through them. And it would be a great opportunity. Someone like that with that knowledge really brings a lot to the table.
Yes, but I think we might find other organizations and persons that have the same knowledge. We will see. I don't want to bias ourselves by making a selection of somebody before we've really vetted everybody else.
No, I didn't say select the person. I meant the original board that was supposed to select the person.
Well, we can't go to the original board. We're the board that are here to select the person.
Okay. We can't use knowledge from other people then to.
Sure, we can use knowledge from other people, but we are essentially the final recommendation.
Okay, I agree with that, but.
So Cliff, I think to build on what you were saying is that we want someone who has experience conducting investigations, either personally or professionally. So someone who's got experience in law enforcement, investigation practices and protocols. And that could be at a state, local, or federal level.
Exactly.
Right, so we want some level of experience. So what I picked up on when you're saying this guy's a retired police officer in New Bedford Police Department, we're looking for people who have that level of law enforcement investigation, right, experience. So they are aware of all the ethics and standards of the field and have demonstrated experience in these types of investigations.
Or the selection, like I could sit in a room, you're as smart as everybody else until you open your mouth, right? And you expose yourself for what you really know. So that's what I mean by I don't know your business. I could figure out you probably don't know my business really quick by asking a few questions. So that's what I meant by the professionalism and the background to even select somebody. I mean, I've been in meetings with people that gave answers to certain questions and they sounded great, but they were wrong. And unless you know better, unless that's your forte, then yeah, that's the problem.
I don't disagree with you.
Right.
We may get there. I just want our process to be relatively straightforward and logical. So first is we have a list of the person has to be independent without ties to Nantucket. The person has to have experience in investigating.
I think we need to say.
Investigating investigators.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Investigate, it's not just investigators, it's investigating the process as well.
Mhm.
So it's investigating the investigation. That's a better.
And familiarity with, what do I want to say?
Familiarity with,
Criminal investigation practices.
yes, a professional investigator. Like as Mr. Williams said, we don't want, or someone said, we don't want someone that this is their first job.
Mhm.
Of course, it's always hard. First job of anybody is always hard. Because your first thing you get asked in an interview, what's your experience? You don't have any experience, you don't get the job. But what are you getting? It's a problem. Okay. So I think we have a sense of that. Now, the scope of work. I put in the agenda, the original scope of work
Mhm.
that was developed by, I believe, the present police chief. So we want to be independent of that. However, this is a starting point for us to define the scope of work. And to me, it seems pretty comprehensive, but I would like your opinion about it. Is this adequate?
This is from this draft for review is that's from the current police chief. She drew this up.
She drew this up, yes.
That was one of my questions, where did these come from?
She drew this up back at the time, before this group existed, and there was some criticism of the process. However,
When I read it, I thought it was pretty thorough
yeah, I
myself.
did too. I mean, she is a town employee, although she was not the police chief.
When I was reading that,
At the
I
time.
read it and I said, there's gonna be no hiding from this. This is full disclosure is gonna be, if you get the right investigator and they're asking these 7 questions. You'll turn over a lot of rocks.
Yeah, I think this is a very professional scope of work, but
Mm.
I'm a physician, not an investigator.
Well, I mean,
Although I was more of a scientific investigator, so I was an investigator.
well, I think if we look at all 7 of them, the first thing is, what is it that we're having them look at? And I think that this answers that question. What are the deliverables that we're looking for? And I think we've got a public deliverable, a decision or some sort of recommendation around what the police department should have done, and identifying those deficiencies and barriers. And then recommendations on moving forward, which is what the assessment of how we could move forward. And then possible protocols for future similar incidences. I mean, I don't know if there's anything missing. To me, it seems like we've hit the, what are you looking at? What are the deliverables? And ultimately, what do we want to come out of this?
Question. Ask a question.
A short question, I was gonna have kind of public comment at our next meeting, but go ahead.
Okay, my question is what steps, if after they complete this process or as they go through this process, if they find deficiencies, is there going to be any rectification to the investigation or rectification? Like if they failed to have done something in this investigation, will the investigator be enabled to complete that step? Or will the investigation only be limited to the scope of what has been previously done?
The investigator would not have the legal power to do a further investigation.
Yes.
So that would be up to the authorities if they decided that something else needed to be done.
Okay,
And that person could recommend, you ought to do A, B, and C
further. Okay.
but he or she could not actually do it legally.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure what's changed on the, you said I said it was changed, the original article. So the original one I read says to investigate, but not limited to. So again, I'm not sure what level or what direction, the investigator would follow if it was a more of an organic investigation, because that's not my preview. I don't know how to go about investigating people, but it just seems like a criteria in a sense should be just generalized and not limited. Just like it said in the original one, not limited to, because he might want to go off in this direction or interview this person. And
Well, I think he would have, if he or she who's the investigator thinks somebody else should be interviewed, he
Okay.
can do that. Of
okay,
course, that person can refuse to be interviewed. This investigator is a private person and does not have legal authority.
well, I hope so. The town meeting gives him certainly.
No, the town meeting does not give him legal authority. It gives him authority to investigate.
Okay.
If someone has legal action, that has to be done by an authorized legal organization, a district attorney, a police officer, and so forth. So I think this gives the investigator the ability to, if he decides he needs to interview Luke, he can get, Luke, I'd like to talk to you.
Right.
And Luke can say, fine, or
Well,
no.
everybody has their own civil rights, but I'm trying to say, I guess this is a platform. I'm just not sure, because I don't know enough to know enough if that's the only platform he needs. So I was just, why that says not limited to, one word can give freedom to do a lot of different things.
Well, I think this gives the person to do, going through these 7 points, how the investigator does those 7 points is pretty much up to him
Okay.
or her. It's whatever they want to do that they can do legally. I mean, so
When we're interviewing them, they're going to be interviewing us as well.
Mhm.
you bet it.
So these are just bullet points. I'm sure the investigator or anybody who's worth their salt in this line of work can take these and add A, B, and C under each number.
Mhm.
But we're gonna gain as much knowledge by them asking us questions that we like, oh, we didn't even think of that.
Exactly.
Now, we might not hire that company, but we can sure use it the next time we interview someone else.
But we're not just gonna put out an RFP, we're gonna put one out and then we're gonna bring the people in and then interview them?
I think we'd interview them, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a full process. Like,
Yeah.
we got the applications, we interview the candidates, then we discuss among ourselves.
Yeah.
Who is the best,
Mhm.
most qualified for this? I think that, you know, we can give them some purview to extend beyond something, but I think that the other thing that we're looking at is, based off of how we were created as a group, the focus from the select board is the March 11th incident. Now, if they find that the March 11th incident is tied to additional incidences within the community, what they've been hired to do is focus on the March 11th incident. And what we could recommend is that you could identify potential links to other incidences within the community, but what you're being paid for by the town is the March 11th incident. And so part of the recommendations would then be to the town to say, we have found the March 11th incident is X, Y, and Z. However, we believe that there are some ties to another incident happening on X, Y, and Z date, and recommend that the town continue this investigation into X, Y, and Z incident. So it's not that they're losing the ability to see how things are related, but based off of my understanding of how we were created as a working group, we're hiring them very specifically for this March 11th incident. And if there are related incidences, we absolutely want them to identify them. What we don't want them to do is spend the money and billable hours into those other things and not to what the thing was hired for.
Are we setting a precedent for future investigations with this committee? Or is when you say they might find some other stuff outside the scope of this,
Mhm.
we're not setting a precedent how future investigations are gonna go, are we?
Well, we're setting a precedent at that if the community is upset with an investigation, that the town will look into it. I mean, that's the precedent.
Okay.
It is sort of a precedent.
For our next step.
I can't think of any other time that the town has done something like this.
Yeah,
So our next step is Brian Turbin to come in and discuss our ability to
I would-
select and how to go about it.
I would invite him to the next meeting if he can come.
Mhm.
what about town council? Would it be best to our interest to have the town council here? Do you have any questions legally? Or not? We're not there yet.
I don't think we're there yet. I think the town council would review the RFP too. And I don't know how involved the town council has been in this before.
Okay,
I haven't come up yet with, if at any point we feel we need a town council, we'll get a town council. I like to ask them a specific question,
great.
because lawyers will find something.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to go on that.
It was like after, I wanted to digress, but after a couple of some of the big issues that have happened on this island, I decided that we should just eliminate all the committees and boards and just have the lawyers deal with it. Because what happens is the commission will do something and then they'll all get sued and they'll go to court anyway. So we could eliminate the whole process by just starting with the lawyers.
So you're saying we're the middleman? Same thing.
All right. Okay, so are we comfortable then that this is a working scope? And that we will find an investigator who's experienced, independent of Nantucket. And we'll have Brian come to the next meeting and go through the RFP process. And then we can write an RFP.
I think so. I'm just wondering if in the scope of services, with public disclosure, does public disclosure imply a public presentation of the findings?
Yes, I'm sure there will be a public.
I'm just wondering because that's a word that can be unclear and someone can interpret public disclosure as just creating a report, but do we want this investigator to present? Or, would our recommendation be for this scope of work that they would be required to do a public presentation of their findings?
I think that's an excellent idea.
That's a good idea.
I'm just trying to like offer as much
Yeah,
transparency
I'd like to see.
for everybody around
In
the
this meeting,
situation
nice,
as
you know,
possible.
Put it out there.
That's number 8. In other words, because I think us presenting it would not be as well as
The
a
individual.
professional.
And I'm just trying to, not to beat a dead horse, that when you talk about the scope, I mean, we've made one. It's a general scope. I just think that it should be a work in progress, that it's not just limited to that, and we can. As we go on, maybe we have better suggestions of, wait a
Yeah.
second, we need to do that also.
Yeah, I think if in the process, the investigator came back and said, oh my God, Malcolm, you don't believe what I found. We
Right.
better blah, blah, blah.
Okay,
Then,
perfect.
Yeah,
So maybe that's where you're not limited to, is like, these are the primary goals of the scope of work, but additional tasks may be added
There you go.
as the investigation evolves. Does
that's a
that get what you
beautiful,
want?
that's a beautiful sentence.
I hope you got it on
Would you
tape.
like that?
I don't know if I can remember it. I took the 6 a.m. ferry over here, y'all.
So you just gave 2 more, you just gave us 8 and 9,
Okay,
okay?
Mhm.
One is a public presentation to your last sentence.
Mhm.
It's part of the scope. Okay. All right, so. Is there anything else any of you have issues with? Concerns, comments?
One little comment.
Yes, please.
Great job.
Well, we're getting there.
Just as an observer and how this procedure has gone, great job.
We'll
Thank you.
wait till the end, but.
That was my little 2 cents.
Okay, so what we'll do. We'll ask Brian to come.
Mhm.
At the next meeting, we'll have minutes, hopefully, to look at. And we'll have an official public comment at the beginning of that meeting,
Okay,
because I look this more as just for us to get organized, and then we'll go. So any other issues?
good start.
Do we hear a motion to adjourn
can I close with a concluding prayer?
after we close?
I second the motion.
And then we'll pray afterwards. I think that's a better way to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Now, I think we'll do your prayers before and after the meeting.
Not just mine. The St. Francis prayer. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love. That where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness. That where there is discord, I may bring harmony. That where there is error, I may bring truth. That where there is doubt, I may bring faith. That where there is despair, I may bring hope. That where there are shadows, I may bring light. That where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for everybody attending in person. It was great to see faces, so.
Can't promise the next one.
Okay.
Make the first one though.
Yeah, the next one will probably be virtual for me.
It'll be